Throughout the last couple of terms, I've undergone a performance improvement program in order to try and improve my badminton skills and overall game. We as a class are using the fits and poisons stages of learning in order to know if we have improved or not. Before this, I felt that I was at a cognitive level in the motor school learning program, as I've had no previous badminton experience, so therefore was not expecting my motor school learning to be very high. An activity at the start of the performance improvement program that I found to be very beneficial was a serving practice drill. The activity is where a player stands on the service line with a pile of 10 shuttles and repeatedly serves across the court, then repeating this for 3 sets. This is a closed activity that focuses on the distributed practice, as it focuses on one skill, the underarm serve, and allows time between each rep and set for rest and feedback. In terms of feedback, I used external feedback to ensure that I was improving and nailing my technique. I used Mr. Gunderson and Robert Rush for this. Mr. Gunderson went on to show me how to push the serve so it covers minimal height over the net and makes it harder for the opponent to play. This skill really benefited me as an athlete that was at the cognitive stage in the sport, as it allowed me to focus on a key component without any external factors and variables. This meant that I was able to perfect it and not get frustrated because I couldn't make the shots due to my lack of skill. One biomechanical principle that occurred in this activity would be projectile motion. This is defined as a motion of the body or object which is propelled into the air and has left the ground. A key point in projectile motion is the angle of its release. The angle of release in which the projectile is released into the air, in my case the projectile being the shuttle, and the angle that I'm referring to is that of the racket face. When performing the serve, I look to try and get an open angle on the racket face, about 45 degrees towards myself, so that the shuttle is able to get up and over the net and travel at the same angle in which I hit it in an upwards motion. If the racket face is facing down or in a neutral spot, it would either hit the ground or the net, which would then be a point to the other person and not effective within the game situation. Throughout the performance improvement program, a skill that I saw as a negative towards my skill development was the activity cutthroat from session 6. The session looks to develop a student's activity to develop their skills and focus on spatial positioning, whilst targeting on stamina, shot selection, and tactics. This activity is a 2v1 drill in which a single player serves and challenges the double. This activity is a problem-solving activity that uses whole practice for many different shots. The reason it uses many different shots is because it is somewhat of an open game scenario. Therefore, going through a full range of motion is executed when performing the shots. I found this to be a negative because it involved the unfair handicap, which meant wherever I played the shot, it was a lot easier for the double to return it faster and more accurately because they covered more ground. This meant that in some cases I was not able to get to the shuttle, and if it was, the shot would most likely be inaccurate. I would say that the activity is more targeted towards associative and autonomous learners, because I consider myself more of a cognitive learner at this stage. This led to a lot of frustration and anger when I was performing the activity. One biomechanical principle that occurred throughout the activity was balance and stability. Balance and stability is defined as the ability to maintain a line of gravity within a base of support with minimal postural sway. There are evidently 2 types of balance: static balance and moving balance. Since I was moving fast and abruptly to make these shots, moving balance would be more applicable. Although I was not good at this, it was shown through my lateral lunges to make this shot. If I was to improve this in any way, I'd look to lower my centre of gravity and my base of support by bending my knees more, thus making me more balanced and then able to move faster to the next spot to play the next shot on the court. A socio-factor that I found to be the most important in this performance improvement pathway was functionalism. This is defined as functionalism relating to the positive approaches to sport. This can include using sport to manage tension, release stress, develop a sense of identity, social reasons, and health benefits. I found that this is the most evident in the performance pathway for me, as I use PE practicals as an outlet for fun and to enjoy sport for the social benefits it has. This has shown me through the fact that I gain the most enjoyment of just playing games against my mates rather than doing more of the skill-based drills and activities. I found this to be the most beneficial as the performance improvement pathway programs that I've been involved in within co-curricular activities have been more focused on elitism, ensuring that my development as an athlete in the sport is going as far as I can. So it was effective to me to balance this with the fun that PE gives me.
Matthew Graham Williams, who recently participated in a 3.3 badminton assessment. Matthew,
Indeed.
how did you find this PIP and what modifications would you make?
Well, Kalani, I found throughout this performance improvement program that I was never getting enough external feedback from someone at an associative level, such as a coach or an experienced player. I think that this is something that I was used to due to my previous experience with rugby development, where I was having more, not only one-on-one time with coaches, but more feedback on my technique and my performance in games. With a class-to-teacher ratio with about 14 to 1, it'd be fair to say that it would be unrealistic for Mr. Gunderson to go around and give us each individual feedback every lesson. So, the modification that I'd make to the PIP for this would be, just to maybe employ for a few months a few New Zealand rep players. I believe they're called Blackhawks. Yes, I believe that's what they're called. And in order for them to come into the college and just to run a few sessions and give that feedback, so it's more of a 3-to-1 ratio, and then we can work in small groups to get the most technically and tactically out of our sessions.
Thanks. So, what do you think some assumptions people could make about the performance improvement programs?
Well, assumptions always occur. I feel that a common assumption that is made about the performance improvement program in general is that athletes who are taking a part of this are looking to improve their game
I was thinking that.
and are determined to do this. Me personally, I'd challenge this to say that in my case, this is actually not too true. You see, as I previously said, the function of these PE classes for me was just to enjoy and have the social and pleasurable benefits that sport has, while balancing this with my other sporting environments that I'm highly competitive in. This meant that I did not really care about improving my skills and was not really motivated in any of the activities or drills that I just didn't find fun. So therefore, I had little to no motivation, and so I was just playing, just hitting the cock around with my friends.
So, you obviously have a big deal of knowledge around the badminton
An excellent
court,
set,
but
if you would.
what knowledge will you take away from this PIP? And how could you use it in the future?
It's been a long journey on the PIP, I have to say. These couple of terms, and I think this program really showed me the different stages of learning and how the skill development can just run alongside them in terms of having different activities for different learning levels. And I think that I'll use this in future if I ever took up another sport, if I ever took up something like hockey or equestrian, if you will, or if I ever look to coach a younger grade, I'd look to make sure that I'm giving them the correct activities due to their learning levels.